Bigfoot, this cryptid is so well known to the point that it is now a household name. Otherwise known as Sasquatch, this entity is often viewed by cryptozoologists as an elusive animal that is just waiting to be discovered and categorized like any other animal on Earth. But, if it is an animal, why haven't we officially discovered it yet? Surely a giant bipedal ape is not so elusive that it can hide from humans in modern times. Although most who believe in Sasquatch consider it to be just an undiscovered animal, some speculate that it is supernatural or even a paranormal being. These theories state that the reason why that we haven't found a Bigfoot specimen yet is because the creature is not of this realm, but is actually an interdimensional being capable of traveling back and forth between its dimension and ours. Others consider it to even be the pet of extraterrestrials, dropped onto Earth only to be picked up by its alien owners soon after, and some believe that Sasquatch have psychic abilities and have communicated to humans telepathically.
I don't know where it came from, but where it came from, when I hit it, it had the ability to just disappear into thin air. You know, I looked, I followed the footprints, I walked the 120 yards. It wasn't that far from the top of a mesa. It had nowhere to go. Never, ever have I ever seen it again, and never, ever have I gone back, not by myself. Gene, on his encounter on Coast to Coast AM.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, tonight we explore the fringe theories of Bigfoot on this episode of Snipe Hunt.
Hello and welcome back to Snipe Hunt, your frightening folklore podcast, the show where we are unable to pronounce the word phenomenon. No, it's phenomenon. I'm your host, Gary Clevenstein.
And I'm your host, Darren Young. Today we have another guest. You heard him in the cold opening, and it's my brother, Brent Young. Brent, welcome to the show.
Hi, hello.
Thank you for being
So
here.
glad to have you here.
Thank you.
You may have a hard time distinguishing. We can't say phenomenon. We can't say distinguishing.
Yes.
That's it, right? Distinguishing. You might have a hard time telling the difference between mine and Brent's voices. We have very similar voices, but I'm sure you'll manage.
You can tell the difference because I'm much better looking.
Yes, absolutely.
And
for sure.
Everybody can see you.
And everybody can see you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Guess what, guys? Today's episode is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, or rather will be once we get some supporters. Gary, I sent you the script.
I think I was about to say I don't think our mother counts.
Right now I have to pay a monthly fee just to keep the podcast going. So if there are some generous people out there who like to help us out, you can donate at patreon.com/snipehunt. You can even do as little as $1 a month, and any amount is greatly appreciated. You'll get a shout out on the show. Nice. And eventually I'll have some access to exclusive Snipe Hunt content.
You know,
So we have a very interesting topic today as we're discussing the theories of paranormal Sasquatch. Specifically, Yetis with psychic abilities, extraterrestrial Sasquatch, and of course, interdimensional Bigfoot. If this sounds way too out there, you're not alone. But we ask you to please suspend your disbelief for this episode for the sake of entertainment. And we'll do the same. And who knows, maybe one or more of these theories are actually true. These theories were first put forward by paranormal investigator John Eric Beckjord, the interdimensional theory.
I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
Beckjord.
it's
Beckjord.
John Eric Beckjord.
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 Claude the Blanc.
Drakkar Noir.
And authors B. Ann Slate and Allie Berry.
Alan Berry.
What is that?
Halle Berry. That's Halle Berry's brother.
Oh, I just got it.
And those are the psychic and UFO theories. So what do you guys think of Sasquatch in general? Do you think it's real, fake, not have an opinion, on the fence, yada yada?
You know, there's a ton of videos.
Yeah.
Of
like Help, I think I saw a skunk ape.
well, like, no, there's this like one with this drone.
I would like to check that video out.
Okay.
It's like a drone flying over this big field, and you do see something run into the forest. That's supposedly a Bigfoot sighting.
Right.
Like, you see it. But then again, with technology,
Do you think you've ever been mistaken for a Bigfoot sighting, Gary?
maybe.
So
That's
I mean,
possible.
we can talk about like the validity of Bigfoot and the evidence, all that stuff all day. That's like a whole separate other thing. But I'm just asking specifically, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so
I
just
think it's
answer the question.
possible.
Do you think it's possible? What about you, Brent?
I have no opinion.
You have no opinion?
No.
All right, which is good. It's fine to not have an opinion. You can say I don't know enough about something to form an opinion about it.
Correct.
I'm just gonna put this out there because I don't think Brent's listened to this episode. But on a previous episode, I mentioned that according to fossil record, there was an animal called Gigantopithecus, which was a 7 to 8 foot tall ape, which the fossil record shows could have possibly been bipedal. So if that's the case, then Bigfoot has technically already existed. It's just a matter of whether or not he still exists.
And bipedal is walks on 2 feet, correct?
That is correct. That's exactly what that means. And so, what was I going to say? So I think if a population of Sasquatch do exist, I think they're slowly dwindling and dying out.
Well, I mean, they'd definitely be a. I mean, they could be on the endangered species list.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, because this has no relevance, I guess, but like the ocean, there's
Right.
got to be crap down in that ocean that we've never.
Oh, absolutely.
We
know more about like the moon than we do our own ocean.
Right.
I mean, given there's not much to the moon, but still.
But I mean, you hear about the megalodon shark.
Yeah.
Who's to say there isn't one really still in existence?
Right.
Well, that would be a lot easier. I think it would be a lot easier for a shark because it's a lot harder to find everything down in the ocean than it is. The ocean is much bigger.
No, absolutely.
It covers most of the earth, so I think that's a lot more possible than maybe possibly a Bigfoot.
But the thing is, it's not like you're seeing Bigfoot in New York City. It's always in a super remote location where there aren't any humans, mostly in large forests where...
Conveniently.
Yes. Well, yeah, if there's anything such thing as Bigfoot, that's where they're going to be. It's not convenience. That's where their population is going to be.
Right.
Especially if they're so anyway, like I said, we can go about this all day. So let's just go ahead and move on. So the reason why I picked this topic is because Bigfoot itself is such a broad, large category, much like his shoulders. So I tried to narrow it down. I tried to pick the crazier sounding ones, and we're going to get pretty crazy on this episode, so I'm really excited.
Well, as mentioned in the cold opening, some of these theories attempt to explain why we have not been able to find a specimen of Sasquatch, either because they went back into space or returned to their home dimension. We have allegedly true accounts of people who have experienced paranormal Sasquatch, and their stories are quite intriguing to say the least. Let's start off with Psychic Sasquatch.
All right, Brent, would you like to tell us all about Psychic Sasquatch?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
All right, cool.
And there we have it.
Yep.
Cue the
Thank you for
music.
joining us today, people.
Yeah, thank you so much for liking and supporting them.
Psychic Sasquatch. This is an excerpt from the Psychic Sasquatch and their UFO connection by Jack
Lapsaritis?
Lapsaritis. And no, that's not an STD. That's his last name.
Ba-dumps.
It all started in 1977 and was something I did not understand. That was very confusing. Something that I have to keep very secret, even from my husband. He's afraid of stuff like that. I hid it from everyone except my best friend. The first incident occurred while I was reading a book on the front porch of the cottage. Evidently, these Bigfoot creatures. Crikey, mate. Evidently, these Bigfoot creatures have the power to levitate objects, as they did with my book, which flew out of my hands. It was scary. Very startling at first, but a kind, warm voice spoke to me in my head. Why do you have so many freaking...
This is literally a quote taken right out of the book. This has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
I literally copied and pasted this.
Fair enough. I did a lot of work on this. You say it's telepathy, but I don't understand these things. I only have a 5th grade education. I can't say that without keeping a
I was about to say,
face.
we already knew that, Brent. You can move on.
I only have a 5th grade education, but I do know that he talked to me inside of my head, and that was a great revelation. He apologized for startling me and laughed frequently, kind of like Gary.
Yeah.
I'm starting to be convinced that you are Bigfoot, Gary.
Gary startles me all the time.
True. I mean, look at him.
You don't have to be so hateful. Jesus.
I'm sorry. Gary's a great guy. He's just he's a big guy, that's all. Big and scary, but he's got a heart of gold.
And very attractive.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why I'm scared, just because he's so attractive.
He's intimidating, both physically and attractively. Question mark?
I think everyone knows what you mean.
Yeah.
This relaxed me, and I came to realize that he meant me no harm. He became my friend.
He became my friend.
He became my friend.
Very nice.
Very nice. From what I could judge, he was at least 10 feet tall, maybe 9. He was huge. I could see that his hair covered his entire body except the face. His head and shoulders were a dark auburn color, with the hair becoming a darker shade of brown on the lower part of Russ' body.
Of his body, I'm sorry.
His lips, of course, did not move as he spoke to me in my mind and kept reminding me to think at him. I would think within myself and he would start to answer. Then I knew that with each thought, he knew what I was thinking. And in such a way then, we began to communicate. It was a whole new experience for me. The creature smiled frequently, but I was not sure who or what he was, so it took me some time for me to put this into perspective that I was actually speaking to a creature that many would call Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Gasp.
I know that the average person would not understand this, and I'm sure that our government would want to know of these things. But I'm more afraid of them than I am of this man you call Bigfoot. In fact, he was a friend. He told me that he had watched me many times over the previous summers and that he enjoyed listening to my thoughts.
So he's
Thus,
creepy.
Yeah, he's a stalker, obviously.
Yeah, obviously he's creeping on her. I think we
Well,
all
I mean,
agree on that.
Honestly, if you're a psychic Bigfoot, would you have anything better to do?
I mean, if somebody
Probably
came
not.
to me and admitted that he had been watching me many times
I've been watching
over the previous summers, so this wasn't like, I've been watching you for a
from
week.
afar.
As he said with a wink.
Yeah, he said for over the previous summer, so that could be anywhere from, I don't know,
Yeah, how
At
many
least a couple
summers are
years.
we talking?
at least a
least
couple.
2.
Yeah, probably more. Thus I came to trust him and to know him some, though there were many things that he would not tell me and hid from me.
All
I
right.
bet so.
So there's a lot to unpack here. So let's dig into it. First things first, so I got it from that book by Jack Lespiritus, or whatever his name is. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. But basically he's saying that the witness did not give her name because, she's afraid of ridicule. And
Rightfully so.
yeah, but the thing about, I mean, if you just hear it like that, it seems to lend more credibility to the encounter. But the things like this, it's kind of like a no-win situation. Either you give your name and then you tell your story and people are just saying, oh, you just want attention, you just want to be famous, or you don't give your name and some author prints it and the author is just making stuff up. Right. So we don't know if this person exists or not. We're just taking this author's word for it. But, so about this encounter, it is pretty funny. Like the stalker thing, at first, I've listened to you from afar for many summers. I don't know why Bigfoot sounds like that, but.
And who would honestly just be like, oh,
oh, okay, cool.
cool.
Yeah, cool beans. Cool
The
beans.
same person who's type, what's the word I'm looking for? Telepathically talking to Bigfoot. That's probably who.
Yeah, I mean, which is crazier, talking to Bigfoot just like having a face-to-face conversation or like psychically.
Yeah, because like if I were in this room right now and Bigfoot was having a conversation with me, I'm pretty sure I'd be freaking out.
Now, as far as psychic Bigfoots, if we're going to talk about Bigfoot being an alien and Bigfoot being an interdimensional being, aka extraterrestrial and ultra-terrestrial. Now, he could be a mixture of these things. I mean, I would imagine if he's like an interdimensional being, I wouldn't be surprised if he had like psychic powers or be able to use telepathy,
Well, no, this is all new to me.
Yeah.
Like I've never even heard of suspicions of interdimensional.
Oh no, it gets crazy.
Yeah, see, all I've heard of
people
is the gorilla out in the woods. It's huge.
People have an insanely weird obsession with Bigfoot, like a lot more than other cryptids. It could be
because
because
it's unknown. It's the fascination of the
yeah,
unknown.
but there are
there's many unknown.
There's a ton of unknown beings out there, but people focus on Bigfoot specifically. It could be because there's a ton of sightings. So
I
maybe,
think that maybe the reason why is it's a lot more believable than some things.
oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and you got the photos out there, the videos, but in like because like I'm
The
intrigued about
Patterson Gimli
the
film.
Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
Because there's that one photo. A lot of people say it's like a horse in the water, a man on a horse.
Well,
in the water.
I think the one that you're thinking of, people have come out and said it was the people who perpetrated the hoax come out and said it was a hoax. So
okay, well, but that's what intrigued
But
me.
that's
was
not-
the possible sighting.
no, absolutely. There's been multiple sightings of the Loch Ness, not just that one picture. So just because, but people are quick to assume just because one person said, "Oh, I took this picture, it's a hoax." People are quick to assume that the whole thing is just BS.
Right.
When it very well could not be BS. It was just one person taking advantage of the sightings.
Well, I mean, like, how could you actually know if it was BS anyways? Because there's so much.
Exactly.
There's so much land that I'm sure has not been.
Well, see, the thing about this, Astonishing Legends podcast mentioned this about ghosts, but I think it applies to like all cryptids or all weird sightings, is even if we give evidence besides, a physical specimen, if you can provide all the evidence you want, you can provide footprint casts, you can provide hairs that you run DNA on and it comes back as unknown or inconclusive or anything like that. Yeah, inconclusive. Thank you. You can provide all the evidence about that, but people still aren't going to believe you, short of a Bigfoot specimen.
That's true.
Itself.
The people that are convinced are going to be convinced no matter what you do.
Well, I mean, and as time goes along and technology advances, it becomes even more difficult to believe because,
especially today when
Photoshop
everyone has a
abilities-
camera in their pockets.
yeah, and the Photoshop abilities are unbelievable.
You can't trust you can't trust any photo you see. You can't trust any video you see.
Right.
Now we're getting back to whether or not Bigfoot exists. We
Right.
keep trailing off to that.
Sorry.
Like I said, we could talk about this. We could probably have a 3-hour episode on that. So we're gonna move on. But so Psychic Sasquatch. Final thoughts. Interesting, at least.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, feel free to make fun of.
I feel like it would make a very good sci-fi movie.
Feel free. I think I'm going to go ahead and say, like, when I was reading this book, none of this came across as believable for me, and especially when I learned more about the credibility of the author. That doesn't mean that Psychic Sasquatch doesn't exist. I'm just saying this one account, I'm pretty sure is BS, and I think he was like, "Ooh, maybe if I say she has a 5th grade education, I don't
Well,
have
it's
to
such
work
a
so hard."
vague story too.
Yeah.
So vague.
It is, because I mean, she says, "Oh, I talk to Bigfoot all the time," but it's like, what did you talk about?
Right. Well, like yesterday when I was at the grocery store.
What
Like,
kind-
Yeah, I mean, she was a lady with a 5th grade education that sat on her front porch.
Yeah.
What else would they talk about?
And she didn't tell her husband either. So I'm thinking she was cheating on her husband, and then her husband like found some evidence that there was another guy there, and she was like, "No, it was Bigfoot. It was a Bigfoot."
And he was telepathically talking to me.
We talked telepathy. Of course, I don't understand what that means because I have a 5th grade education.
Yes, you did use some big words for a 5th grade education.
Well, like I was just saying, like the other day when I was at the grocery store, like I ran into Tom Cruise in the cereal aisle,
Oh yeah.
and he was, we talked for about
Really?
5 minutes. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
really great guy.
Here, let me write a book about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just great.
We can
And,
call it Encounters with
we
Celebrities.
hugged, embraced each other for about
Yeah.
10 minutes, and
Of course, he was like 3 feet tall, so you had to like pick him up, right?
You picked him up from the floor and embraced him for about 10 minutes.
Oh God! Now Tom Cruise is going to hear this and send his Scientology brethren to beat us into submission.
my point being that it's such a vague story.
Such a vague story, and like I said, I mean, not including the name of the person because they don't want ridicule. It offers validity to it because you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then at the same time, the author could be making it all up, so we really don't know for
She's
sure.
like, shh, don't talk, just think at me.
Think at me, like when you shout at someone, you have to think at someone because we all know when you use telepathy.
It's okay.
When we all use telepathy, you can regularly think, but you have to think at the person you're trying to communicate to.
Right.
Right. Of course. All right. So
Well, yeah, then it would just be chaos if you were just thinking at
yeah,
anybody.
it'd be crazy. You just it's like when you're having a conversation with someone, you don't yell at the top of your lungs. You talk at the person.
Well, some people might.
I'm looking Gary straight.
Are you
Into his
thinking what
eyes.
I'm thinking?
I don't know. Let me think at you, and we'll find out.
Okay, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not doing that anymore.
I don't think you had to make a noise while you were thinking, by the way, Gary.
All right, guys. Moving on.
Okay, sorry. All right.
So if you Google a map of Bigfoot sightings in the United States, and then you also look up a map of UFO sightings in the United States, you will see that a ton of the dots that represent both sightings are all grouped in the same places, so they often overlap. So either there are a ton of crazy people in those areas or a ton of paranormal activity. I don't mean the movie either.
Project Blue Book was a series of investigative studies conducted by the United States Air Force that spanned from 1952 to 1970. The project had two goals: to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and to scientifically analyze UFO-related data. Thousands of UFO reports were collected, analyzed, and filed. In the end, Project Blue Book determined that the UFOs investigated were not a threat, nor were they crafted beyond current...
Nor were they craft beyond current technology.
Oh, they wouldn't be crafted?
Nor were they like aircraft. Like a plane is an aircraft.
Instead of
Yes.
saying aircraft, they're
Yeah.
just saying craft.
Yeah,
Like
nor
the
were
cheese.
they craft beyond current technology, nor were they piloted by extraterrestrials.
So
Just the Russians.
the United States Air Force themselves, they investigated UFOs. I mean, all a UFO is an unidentified flying object. So if you see something in the sky and you don't know what it is,
It's UFO.
it's technically a UFO. But they were investigating the possibility of, actual alien
But
UFOs.
do we want to believe what the government tells us?
Absolutely not. And that's why we're doing this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Have you never heard like the New World Order, the Illuminati? That's
The Freemasons?
I want to be Illuminati with you.
The freaking Girl Scouts?
They're putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking frogs gay.
Darren, that's,
what is that?
Darren,
off of?
It's Alex
Darren,
Jones.
Darren, that's for a different episode. Don't surprise them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Next
Spoiler
episode,
alert.
gay
The
frogs
next episode is gay frogs.
that chase after your dad.
That chase after your dad. That attack your dad. They're swimming in the pool.
And not only are they gay, but they turn human size.
Anyways, the following excerpt from Gaia.com. It's GAIA.
Seems legit.
Yes, that's Gaia.
Gaia, yeah.
Seems legit.
Explains a Project Blue Book report as filed by Major William Hall with the United States Air Force.
I think
Go
it's
on.
Presque.
I was about to say it. I'm about to start talking in French.
Presque.
Presque is a peninsula arcing out. Oh, that's not as much as I thought it would be. Okay. Presque Isle is
That's not as French as I thought it would be.
exactly.
Not French enough.
Presque Isle is a peninsula arcing
Peninsula.
Peninsula.
over Lake Erie to form Presque Isle Bay, one of the state's most visited summer tourist destinations. On the night of July 31st, 1966, 4 tourists from New York found their car stuck in the sand after spending the day relaxing on the beach.
Relaxing on beach.
Oh, on beach
No.
6. Okay,
No,
I
it's
got you.
relaxing on Beach 6
Yeah,
of the
Beach 6.
peninsula.
That's a cool name, actually.
Beach 6.
Beach
It's
6.
the name of our band is what it is.
Summer break.
Hey, bro, you want to go to beach 6? Nah, man, I was going to beach 5. Well, you're a loser. See you later.
You guys know what's better than Beach 24?
Beach 25.
Oh, okay. After spending the day relaxing on Beach 6 of the peninsula, one member of the group,
How'd you get spit on me?
Gerald LaBelle,
Gerard LaBelle.
Gerald LaBelle, was sent to call a tow truck while the others remained in the car. Around 10 p.m., police on patrol stopped to ask if they were all right. After being informed that help was on the way, the officers said they would check back within the hour. When the police returned about 35 minutes later, the group said it witnessed something weird going on up there, pointing to a location in the sky above a wooded area. One of the group's members, Douglas Tibbetts, went to investigate along with the 2 officers. The 2 women in the group, Betty Clem and Anita Hafley, remained in the car while they waited for everyone's return. Tibbetts and the officers walked roughly 300 yards up the beach before hearing the honking of their car's horn, hurrying back to see what happened. Clem and Hafley, clearly shaken, said they witnessed a dull black shape, bigger than a man, big head and shoulders, arm-like appendages, no hands, no face visible, as though it had its back turned.
So what we have here
Is a man standing away from them.
with no hands.
With no hands.
Dun, dun, dun. I've seen some things, man, and some stuff. I wouldn't recommend it. And he politely asked for directions.
Well, they saw this in front of their car before it lumbered into the bushes.
I imagine tuba sounds as he's walking away.
I have a glandular problem.
When Clem blew the horn.
Oh, see, there's the tuba.
A scratching sound on the hood or roof of the car was also reported. All right, so they said that the thing
This is the funniest part.
Walked in the woods.
Right.
She blew the horn.
Yep. Well, she saw a
And
dull
then-
black shape that was bigger than a man with arm. What I find interesting here, she said arm-like appendages. She didn't say arms.
Yeah.
So what's the difference exactly between arm-like appendages and arms?
Well, that's what
I think she's trying to say he was armed with appendages.
Oh, yeah. So he's like using
He was using them
appendages
as
as
a weapon,
weapons.
yes.
Yeah. He's kind of like just flailing arms around.
Yes.
He's got like one above his head, like one of the Tuscan Raiders.
Yeah,
from
I think it's pretty clear on what it says, guys.
So Bigfoot, much like Chewbacca, just ripped someont's arm off. And
Right,
now
and
he's
everybody
using them
gets
as
so
blunt
confused about the
weapons.
Second Amendment. It clearly states that everybody has a right to bear arms, to mount them above their fireplace.
I guess for the
Everybody
Bigfoot.
has the right to mount a pair of bear arms.
Yeah, and I guess for the Bigfoots, it's everybody has a right to human arms.
Right.
Yeah, and
You
you
just
can wield
want
them.
equal rights.
See, human arms though aren't really good for like using blunt arms because they have all those joints. So you're like trying to swing it, and it's all flailing around and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be great
you
if
know.
Gary was contributing to this conversation. No,
Well, I was going to say, what's funny is it turned out to be a big mouth waving, wacky, inflatable tube man.
No, big mouth flailing, inflatable
Arm flailing, wackily inflatable arm flailing two
Yeah,
man.
wackily
Wackily inflatable arm flailing two man.
two
Hi,
man.
I'm Bob from
Wackily
Wackily inflatable arm flailing two man Emporium.
You took too long to look that up.
I know.
Well, let's see. Let's review. Dull black shape. Okay. Bigger than a man. Yeah, the wackily inflatable arm flailing two men are bigger than men.
Yeah.
Head and big head and shoulders. I don't think they have
Now,
shoulders.
is this a big bottle of Head and Shoulders?
Well, also, it was dark.
It was dark.
So maybe they didn't even...
So maybe it was
Slenderman.
Slenderman. He was goddamn Slenderman. Because look, arm-like appendages, check. That's Slenderman to a T. No hands. He has like these little tendrils.
Roblox
No
Slenderman.
face visible. Slenderman has no face. Slenderman confirmed.
Well, I think we've mystery solved here, guys.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Tune in next week. I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. See, this is the funniest part. Go ahead and
Right.
read the next part. This is the funniest part.
Well,
to me.
in the end, this creature was dismissed by investigators as a raccoon.
Obviously.
Despite the lady's very distinct
I
description
was hoping it would be the gay
of a-
frog.
bipedal humanoid figure. But what about the UFO?
Okay.
Now this leaves me. I got some
Obviously,
questions.
it matches the description of a raccoon to the T.
Yeah.
Even more than I thought it was Slenderman at first, but when you said raccoon, I was like, "Duh, it's a raccoon." We're stupid.
How did I
Damn
not think of
raccoons.
that?
Obviously, because raccoons are way bigger than the average human being.
Yeah.
They have arm-like appendages. I think everything has arm-like appendages, though.
And
No,
turns
I
out
think-
she was
I think
high
the
as
raccoon
hell.
was armed with appendages. We discussed that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. All right, please continue, Gary.
All right. Well, what about the UFO? The UFO was described as an angular craft emitting red and orange lights before descending down to the beach, where it radiated a beam of white light that tracked something into the woods. But eventually it took off at an incredible speed to the north, shortly after the women encountered the humanoid figure.
So, obviously, the UFO was just a flying raccoon.
So it was
Matches raccoon to a T. Angular craft, check. Red and orange lights,
Guardians of the
check.
Galaxy. Holy
Oh my
crap.
God, guys. It's the Guardians of the
Right.
Galaxy. They have a
was
ship, they have
Rocket
raccoon, and a Groot.
No,
Yeah.
no. Here's my opinion. I think it was Nibbler off of Futurama.
Yeah.
Had to have been Nibbler.
But see, the Guardians of the Galaxy matches lumbered into the bush, lumber, wood, Groot.
God, man, it's all making sense now.
I know. It's crazy.
Wow.
You sound like your mind is just totally blown right now.
It is completely blown.
He's at a loss for words.
Beyond.
In the early hours of the following morning, officers patrolled the area where the craft allegedly landed. The report says they noticed the presence of two unusual triangular marks in the area coinciding with the craft's landing zone. The officer writing the report said, "I have no
What'd he
reasonable
say?
explanation of the UFO," and described witnesses as credible. Investigation of the case was eventually abandoned, remaining unsolved to this day. The Project Blue Book report dismisses the group's testimony as a possible hoax, though no definitive conclusion was made. A local television station aired a segment where decades Decades
Decades later.
A local television station aired a segment
Diabetes.
some decade later interviewing a man who said the UFO was a hot air balloon he ordered and built from an issue of Boy's Life magazine. Boy's Life
I
magazine.
think they need to investigate that guy.
Please, sir, have a seat over here.
So once again, we have
Who's
the
the guy?
UFO is just a
Chris
balloon.
Hansen.
Yeah, Chris Hansen. Hi, I'm Chris Hansen.
Why don't you take a seat?
Why don't you take a seat right over
Have
there?
a cookie.
How are you doing today?
Hey, it's a well-known fact that all pedophiles love cookies.
That's true. I've heard that.
Yeah, but
that is true facts.
But keep in mind that not everybody that loves cookies is a pedophile. It's just
No, we can't accuse everybody who likes cookies of being a pedophile.
I mean, we can, but then we'd just be Alex Jones or Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. Oh. But this man's claim implies that the homemade hot air balloon would have traveled in a straight line, precisely due north for several miles, carried by the wind without straying off course.
Wait,
That's not
do
possible.
balloons not do that?
I don't believe that they would travel in a straight line.
Several miles? Really?
Yeah.
I thought they did that. That's weird.
I would.
I'm sorry, Gary. Have you studied balloons in the past?
Yeah.
Balloonology, it's first grade, Gary.
It's gravity, man.
Yeah, gravity and stuff.
Gravity and Newton's law, man.
You know the apple falling on the guy's head?
Duh.
I feel like you're just making things up, Darren.
What's funny is you're questioning it. That's how.
Why do you keep raising your eyebrows at me?
That's how he emotes.
That's
I'm thinking at you.
He's trying to send you a telepathic
Oh,
message.
right. I guess I'm not thinking back quickly enough.
Yeah, you really need to get your eyebrows
I wasn't
involved.
thinking at Gary.
It's for a better signal, you know? It's
Right.
like Morse code.
Right.
So Boy's Life magazine.
Okay. Despite the fact witness accounts describe something far more complex than a paper balloon, the man's testimony doesn't explain the strange marks on the beach where the craft supposedly landed, baffling CIA investigators.
Well, obviously those were just raccoon tracks. So this is an actual report done by Project Blue Book. So it was an actual investigation done by the United States Air Force. And I'm actually going to provide a link to the legitimate report, Project Blue Book report, in the description of this episode.
You know, the thing about this topic, though, is, like, realistically, like you said, we can go on for hours.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, you know, it all ties in, you know, because you can get in all the conspiracy theories, you know.
Yeah, all of it.
especially with, like, UFOs and the aliens.
And the Girl
now,
Scouts.
Like, an extraterrestrial Bigfoot. It's like the government knows things, man.
Or do they?
True.
So this theory is basically either Bigfoot is an extraterrestrial himself and is like piloting a craft. So I'm immediately thinking like Chewbacca from Star Wars and Millennium Falcon. So maybe it's Chewbacca landing down there. Or my favorite theory is that, like, you know, the gray aliens, the typical aliens that people
Right.
quote. I think Bigfoot is like their pet. And they just come, oh man, he's got to use the bathroom. What do you mean he's got to use the bathroom? He just went, let's just stop at Earth real quick. We'll let him off. And then he's like, oh, damn it, he's scaring
Come
people
back
again.
here.
Use the microchip. He ran away again.
Boy! Come here, boy!
Come here, sassy. Sassy.
Well, that definitely reminds me of the Futurama episode when Zorg, what's his name again?
It's, I know what you're talking about. It's
Ruler
of
Omicron Persei
8.
Yeah, they actually like keep Bigfoot as a pet.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
And the
what it
hunter
is.
wasn't going to kill him; he was going to tranquilize him and then cut off his foot.
Cut off his feet.
Yeah, his feet.
His feetsies.
Is Harry and the Hendersons a Bigfoot?
Yeah. I don't know. Does he look like a Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Yes, he's a Bigfoot.
Holy crap!
I need to watch that movie.
Gary's mind was just blown all over again. Wait, there's that one movie with the hairy guy. Was
Hold on
he
a
a
second.
Bigfoot? Yeah, another conspiracy theory. What if Harry from Harry and the Hendersons? I'm assuming that's the name of the character. I have no idea.
It's Harry. Yeah.
Okay, what if
How
he?
did you figure that out?
What if he was a Bigfoot?
Sorry.
So as far
Gary's
as
laughing, but you can tell by looking at his eyes, he's freaking out right now.
So as far as the alien theory, what do you guys think on that? I'm gonna need some more input for you.
Just I don't know, like
His
So-
mind is so blown right now.
So your conclusion that it was actually the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's
what you're saying.
I mean, come on. Who
Yeah,
wouldn't think of that?
we got the raccoon, we got the lumbering, we got the ship.
It all makes sense.
It's all connected, man. I don't think it was a gay frog, though.
Unfortunately.
But no
I
one
think
ever
most
know.
of these sightings are gay frogs, but I think this one in particular is not. I think it's something more.
I think we can all agree this was not a gay frog.
Yeah.
But a gay raccoon.
They're putting chemicals in the garbage to make the freaking raccoons gay. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this first account comes from the radio show Coast to Coast AM. So before people listen to paranormal podcasts, this is what they listen to.
Oh.
The following curious account comes from a paper titled Vanishing Bigfoot and Anecdotal Accounts, Implications and Challenges for Researchers. Catchy. By Sharon Cornett. This encounter allegedly happened to witness Larry Kelm in August of 1980 near Eugene, Oregon. This is an excerpt from an article on mysteriousuniverse.org by Brent Swanser. Hey, how appropriate. You're reading for Brent, and your name is Brent. Brent?
You can't prove that.
No, I can't. I'm just taking your word for it.
On this day, Larry had decided to take a hike along the Malala Indian Trail, which connects to the ridges of Saddle Blanket Mountain nearby Oak Ridge. At some point during his hike, the witness claims that his surroundings became blurry, overcast, and tinged with an odd gray color. Despite the sunny weather, even though there were no clouds in the sky, it seemed as if the shadow had been cast over the land. Larry would say of this. The only way I can describe it, it was if suddenly I was looking through someone else's prescription sunglasses. I finished the step and started another. Every inch I moved forward, the darkness increased and the gray blurred turned into a jumble of shapes that made no sense. Then, suddenly, as this all happened, Larry reports that he seemed to pass a barrier and that everything returned to focus, but that it was now nighttime and the wind had completely ceased. Upon looking about himself, Larry found that the scenery had changed in other bizarre ways as well. Instead of the fir trees that had been around him before, there was now thick, unrecognizable, and wild vegetation similar to a jungle, and the air seemed thick and oppressively humid. Even though it was now night, and there was no discernible moon in the sky, he found that he could still see everything to some degree, as if there was some mysterious light source casting a faint frosting of light upon the landscape. At this point, Larry claims that the air was pierced by a continuous, high-pitched, keening sound, which immediately filled him with unbearable sense of dread. The witness explained the bizarre events that followed thus. It was at this point I heard a whispered, "Gotcha, gotcha," over my right shoulder.
Gotcha.
Hopefully not like that. That'd be terrifying.
That would be terrifying. I couldn't tell that if I heard it with my ears or outside my head.
Inside. You know, the opposite of what
That's
you
how
said.
freaky it was, man. On the outside of his head.
I heard it from the outside of my head, man.
I can totally hear your hair grow. I couldn't tell if I heard it with my own ears or inside my head. The word wasn't directed at me, but something said the word quietly to itself. I was so terrified that I actually felt my heart stop for a moment. That whispered word is what saved me. I opened my mouth and gasped in a huge gust of thick air and recoiled backwards in the same footsteps that I had entered wherever I was. A dark-colored, hairy right hand and arm was reaching for my throat over my shoulder. The hand had a pale ivory spade-shaped fingernails.
So he got his manicure
Right.
recently. French tips,
Quite important.
to be exact.
Especially if you're going to be grabbing with the right hand.
Yeah, especially if you're a Bigfoot.
The nails looked clean and almost had a manicured look to them. Hey, we were
I
just
called
talking about that.
Look at that.
The thumb was placed lower towards the wrist on the hand that a human's is. Both hand and arm were thin and powerful looking, and both were covered with thick, coarse black hair. I got a good look at it because the thumbnail grazed my neck as I moved backwards. As I continued backwards, the hand clutched where my neck had been a split second before, and it seemed to fade off into the distance as I returned through the portal. As soon as he had scampered a few more steps backwards, Larry found himself back in the cool mountain air that he had left behind and back in his familiar surroundings. And the portal before him had seemed to be an oval-shaped patch of shimmering air that slowly faded away until it was gone. Larry then ran off towards his truck as fast as he could without looking back. The terrified witness later would reflect on what happened to him and came to the conclusion that it had been some sort of interdimensional trap, saying, On my way home, I was absolutely horrified at the thought of what would happen if I were to drive my truck into something like that. It had been a trap, pure and simple. Whatever it was that had tried to kill me somehow kept the portal hidden from me on the way in, and I didn't actually see it until I was back out again. I had terrible nightmares for years, and still haven't come to grips with what happened. My fingers are trembling, and the hair is standing up on the nape of my neck as I write this.
Alright, so let's break down what happened. He's minding his own business, walking along in the mountains, and all of a sudden, everything goes gray, and he seems to be in, like, a different world of sorts. It's a lot hotter and humid, and everything's dark, and then something tries to grab at him, but luckily he has his instincts or whatever kicked in, and he backed up and immediately got himself back out from the portal. So basically what he's saying is some sort of being, a large hairy being, so Bigfoot, quote unquote, opened a portal just for him to walk in, and then the Bigfoot was like, gotcha.
Well, you know what's funny is he doesn't seem the least surprised about the portal. Like almost as if he's been in a portal before.
Well, no, when he was talking about it, he was saying it was a trap. That's what it was, pure and simple. And you could say he said that the hair was standing on the nape of his neck as he was writing about his own experience. So he definitely had some sort of emotional response to this. But basically, he's just describing what happened to him. So for whatever reason, I'm sure if Bigfoot exists, he would be a predator, at least to some degree. I believe he'd be an omnivore, but if he can get meat when he needs it. It's weird. It's like a hunter setting trap for a prey and the prey just walking right in, except in this case, the prey got away. So it's creepy, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just to know that you could just be walking along anywhere and then you can accidentally walk through a portal at any time just for something to
Yeah, you could be like
get
waking up in the middle of the night to go take a crap and then you just walk through a portal and you're done.
Yeah. Bigfoot's got you by the neck with his manicured nails.
And then he's like, I'll wait for you to finish. Like if you're taking a crap. That was the joke. He'll be like, I'll wait for you to finish.
I don't get it.
Never mind.
It's gross. Is he like watching?
Well, that's what I assumed. Like you walk into the portal, you're...
Does he like open the door to the bathroom and go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't summon this.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like all embarrassed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll wait. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Why didn't you lock the door?
Jeez. You weirdo. So basically, this guy's claiming portal opened up, something tried to grab him, went back through the portal, and now he was scared. Obviously,
and that was the end of the story.
That was the end of the story.
Huh. Once again,
he left on. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're expecting from encounters with the unknown, other than vague.
Yeah, I know.
Because
I mean, like his encounter. Like,
often in these encounters, they're terrified. They're scared out of the wits. They're not thinking straight. The only reason he got out of the portal was not by thinking, but just sheer instinct alone. He's not gonna be like, okay, I'm in here. Okay, there's something grabbing at my hand. Let me memorize. Let me look behind me. Wait, hold on before you kill me. He's not.
I guess I'm more. Like
I think the most detail he went into was about the hand and the fingernails.
The handle.
Like, just I want to know. Like,
I think he's focused more on surviving.
Right. Well, I guess I'm probably
and the manicured fingernails.
And the manicured fingernails.
I guess I'm probably more intrigued by the portal.
Yeah.
Versus the.
Yeah, let me read what he described the portal as. Split second. As I return through the portal, came a few steps backward. The portal before him appeared to be an oval-shaped patch of shimmering air that slowly faded away until it was gone. So if he describes it as a trap, and that's a perfect trap because it's just shimmering air. It's not like it looks different than any of the other surroundings other than the shimmer. So if you weren't paying attention to exactly where you're going.
So it's not like your generic portal from every cartoon.
Not like a Rick and Morty portal. Yeah. But just like shimmering air. So if you're not paying attention to exactly where you're going, you can just walk in at any time. Okay. Which is perfect because it's a trap, supposedly.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
See, I'm appeased now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. But no, I definitely thought it was an interesting story. It's not your typical Bigfoot. It's not your typical paranormal story in general. Because usually they just see something off in the distance, but this guy was like actually going into... The guy himself went into another world. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot more unique than the other ones.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He went into, like, this predator hunting planet. And the Bigfoot was like, gotcha. But then he's like, scared himself out of the portal, you know?
Yes.
All right, so we've already gone off the deep end. No arguments on that. But now we're going even further beyond. But before we do...
The scary door.
The scary door. But before we do, you need to know the difference between a Sasquatch and ancient ones, according to author Jack Kewane Laspiritus, who has his own entry in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. Entry number
You are loony.
1871. And he has even come to my home state of Arkansas to speak at the Ozark Mountain UFO Conference in Eureka Springs, of course, because where else would
I was
it be?
about to say, yeah, where else would we have that?
Yeah, exactly. So according to him being Jack Laspertus, otherwise known as, he calls himself Kewane. I'm pretty sure that's his Bigfoot name.
Why would he call himself Kewane?
Well, based on what I read about him, I'm pretty sure in his interaction with the Bigfoot people gave him that name.
Oh,
yeah,
so that is his Bigfoot name, as in they gave him that name.
Hence why he's in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. Anyway, so according to him, Sasquatch have a sloped forehead, ape-like face, and longer arms, and of course are huge humanoids that are covered with thick hair. So your basic Sasquatch description, right?
Yeah.
So that's what a Sasquatch is. But ancient ones are likewise giant humanoids covered in hair, but have a rounder head, a human-like hairless face, and shorter arms. So that's the difference between a Sasquatch
He's describing a caveman.
and an ancient one.
The following is an excerpt from the Sasquatch people and their interdimensional connection by Jack Laspertus.
Again, that is not an STD. That is his name.
I'm calling into work tomorrow. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have Lasperitis.
Bang. Knock, knock. Was the sound heard at the cabin door late one evening by a 60-year-old divorced man living in a remote forest some 50 miles southeast of Seattle, Washington. What does him being divorced have to do with it? This was in the
I think it just wants you to know how sad and lonely this man
I
is.
guess so. This was in the 1990s. Upon opening the door, the man was startled to see an attractive, curvaceous woman completely nude, with short brown hair, not fur, covering her entire body.
Oh my.
There was no hair on her face whatsoever. That's how I like them. She did not have negroid features, wore straight long hair on her head, and had short hair that was evenly distributed on her breasts and everywhere else except for her palms and bottoms of her feet.
Oh yeah.
The female being was around 6 feet in height. Am I making you uncomfortable? The woman appeared to be pleasant and gentle, and immediately began making overtures of a sexual nature towards the gentleman.
Oh yeah.
He was stunned.
I bet.
What little communication occurred was strictly telepathic.
Of course.
Soon the two people were in bed, engaged in sexual intercourse. As if this was not shocking enough, after the romantic interlude, she smiled at him while climbing out of the bed, then proceeded to turn and walk straight through the solid wall of the cabin.
What?
Ooh.
A spooky, ghostly, telepathic Bigfoot sexual encounter.
And it was the best I ever had.
And if I was there, I would have been like, sweet.
2 months later, there was another knock at the door, and when the man opened it,
He was already robless.
the forest being was the forest being was once again standing there, pointing to her belly.
But this time, she had a pizza, and he said, "Where's my diet Dr. Kelp?"
Months later, there was another knock at the door, and when the man opened it, the forest being was once again standing there, pointing to her belly. She said telepathically, "It took,"
Uh-oh.
then turned and walked away.
It's my Sasquatch baby daddy. Whoa, whoa.
The man never saw her again.
And then 6 months later, got a letter in the mail saying he owed back child support.
Yeah. During the previous month, before he first met the seductive lady, he had observed what he labeled Sasquatch at the edge of his property on several occasions. But he had never seen one up close, nor made love to one.
Yet.
Also,
But he waited every day for that knock on the door.
Also, a week before meeting her, he had witnessed a spaceship hovering a couple of feet above a small lake near his cabin.
Okay, so once again, there's a lot to unpack here. and all of it's awkward. Just a whole lot of awkwardness to unpack. So we got a Bigfoot lady, or a Bigfoot-like lady, who begins making
Hey, look at that Bigfoot lady.
just sexual gestures, I guess. I don't know what that means. I would like some more specifics on that. Well, actually, I don't know if I'd like some more specifics on that, but maybe a little bit more
I
elaboration.
don't think I need to know the specifics on that.
Then right after, she gets up and winks at him, which is weird, because winking...
And she goes, gotcha.
grabs him with her manicure nails that are painted this time a bright red color. So she winks at him, which is weird because, well, one, I should say, this whole story, I don't think this is an actual encounter. I think this is Jack Spurs being like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She
Writing
grabs his metallic.
writing his own version of Peter erotica.
Yeah, no, this is Bigfoot erotica is what this is.
By Betty White.
But so a little bit more about Jack Lasperitis. I started reading this book, and this is actually the same book where I took this encounter from. It's called Sasquatch People and the Interdimensional Connection, right? So I open it expecting, Bigfoot and interdimensional theory. And this is what I got instead. I got a bunch of Bigfoot erotica. So needless to say, I stopped here, but I was like, I'm definitely going to include this.
And by the way, we highly suggest not listening to this in the car and taking your shirt off while you're driving.
Yeah. Take your shirt off at a light or something, not while you're driving.
Oh boy, it's getting hot in here. I better take my shirt off.
So he winks at him, which we'll get back to. We're taking this as truth, quote unquote.
Right.
She winks at him, which I think is weird because I think that's a very human thing to do. I mean, he makes a point to describe how human this being is, but even if you're an extraterrestrial, interdimensional being, I don't think winking is going to be your thing. And then she walks through a wall. And then before this, he saw some UFOs flying around. So we got a little bit, and he spoke telepathically. So this is literally this whole episode, what we've been talking about in one story. Definitely sexier, literally.
Yeah. Sexier.
I like that. And I'm pretty sure anyone who's been listening to this story, I'm pretty sure we just lost all of our listeners just with that one story. Like I said,
We lost all 2 listeners.
I don't think any of this is true. I think this is just some weird Bigfoot fan fiction written by Jack Kewani Lesperitis. But
I'm starting to see why he's divorced and why that's relevant.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because if it's relevant, because if he was married, it would be a Bigfoot affair, and we can't have that. That'd be a good novel. It's like My Sasquatch Affair.
I think that's on his next issue of his Bigfoot
An
erotica.
affair with a Sasquatch. All right. So wrapping up our discussion on fringe Sasquatch theories, I've come across a theory that I think is my favorite one by far, even more than the ancient one, sexy ghost UFO Bigfoot thing.
I don't know. That one was pretty entertaining.
Oh no, this was pretty good. It was gonna be hard to top, but I'll let you
50
guys.
Shades of Sasquatch.
But that was good. I'll give you kudos for that one. So I'll just read this article from Newsweek, written by Andrew Wayland, to tell you all about it. Tim Daly, anti-gay marriage activist and former senior fellow for a lobbying group, the Family Research Council, described Bigfoot as a, quote, demonic virtual reality projection on a radio interview. Described by Jared Holt of the Right Wing Watch, Daly proposed a radical conspiracy theory for both Bigfoot and the UFO phenomena. Are you guys intrigued yet?
Yeah.
Appearing on Janet Mefford Live, a show promising good news to share with the dying culture, as part of American Family Radio, a Christian radio network with close ties to the Republican National Committee. Committee. With close ties to the Republican National Committee, Daly explained the argument put forth in his book, The Paranormal Conspiracy, The Truth About Ghosts, Aliens, and Mysterious Beings. So he covers everything in that book, apparently. I haven't read it, but I'm not going to read it. Quote, the paranormal conspiracy seeks to subvert and ultimately transform the rational view of the world through mysterious entities that thrive on instability, confusion, and fear, Daly said. A demonic virtual reality is taking place, and they're putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. The ubiquity of high-quality cell phone cameras has made belief in Bigfoot increasingly untenable. As more time passes and the paucity of photographic evidence becomes more apparent, the more unlikely an 8-foot undiscovered ape roams the forests of North America. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier. While groups like the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO, continue to endorse a biological description of Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, Daly positions that the absence of physical evidence as evidence of a non-physical explanation. Number 1. This is a quote from him, by the way. Number 1. You have many, many reliable observers who have seen Bigfoot. These are not kids on a prank. The second thing is a virtual absence of any evidence of their existence, Daly told Mefford. So it shows that what's going on is not really a physical phenomenon. It's real. It's a projection. It's a demonic virtual reality, but it's not nuts and bolts, or in this case, flesh and blood. So this guy's just going on about his crazy rant about Bigfoot being a demonic projection. Okay, so anyway.
It's of the devil.
It's of the devil. Burn the witch. For Daly, Bigfoot isn't biological, but part of a larger complex of paranormal activity, including UFO sightings and alien abduction. Together they form a syncretic conspiracy theory with the biblical devil at the epicenter. Dun, dun, dun.
Could this be the work of Satan?
Satan!
Well, at least he's not the super devil who carries around the jar of marmalade that we believe makes
How many Family Guy references are you gonna make? We're gonna get copy strikes because of all your. Anyway,
he carries around a jar of marmalade that we believe makes you commit adultery.
Mefford brought up an anecdote from Daly's book in which a woman encountered a Bigfoot at night and tried to shoot it, but the animal vanished. That's one of the many stories, but Bigfoot and UFO researchers are loath to admit that because they are tied into the nuts and bolts, three-dimensional existence of these creatures, Daly said. They're not open really to a spiritual explanation because then you'd have to discuss the reality of evil.
What were you just saying about me making references?
Evil!
That was SpongeBob.
Yeah, thank you.
That's only like the second one for SpongeBob.
This woman in Pennsylvania, she shot at point-blank range in the middle of the night when she saw this creature. It just evaporated. It disappeared, and up in the sky there were UFO lights. So oftentimes you wouldn't think it. UFOs and Bigfoots and others of these kind are phenomena that are tied and often occur simultaneously. These are all quotes from Daly, by the way. This isn't me going, Darren's losing it, guys.
Well, that's been happening for a while. But.
So then Mefford, the host, asks, why would the devil do this? And here's what Daly said. It's part of the devil's modus operandi. He has always used this kind of phenomena to once again destabilize, engender fear, open us up to the possibility of other realities, other beings. Then we begin getting involved with demonic spirits, Daly said. All through history, there have been many, many varieties of beings that are primarily spiritual beings who have terrorized civilizations and people. Non-Christian cultures are very aware of this because they have to deal with these beings all the time, and that's what they have shamans for, to hold these spirit beings at bay. We are getting to that stage here in the United States. So I've already found, a problem with his logic. He says the devil is doing this to open us up to other realities, and when we're opened up to other and spiritual beings. And when we're opened up to that, that makes it easier for the devil to come in, right? But the thing is, if you believe in the devil, you're already open to other realities.
The irony is unbelievable.
Yeah. The devil does this to open us up to the possibility of spiritual beings. Yeah. I was like, wait, isn't the devil a spiritual being?
Exactly.
What? So this guy is probably even loonier than Jack Lasperitis, but, who knows? I don't think there's a way to measure that.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's no scale to measure the looniness. But
No.
I see what you're saying.
Although I didn't check, but I'm pretty sure he's in the Encyclopedia of American News too. If not, he definitely needs his own entry. Daly further condemns Ouija boards, ayahuasca, and newspaper horoscopes as additional vectors for possible demonic interference. So I had to look up what ayahuasca is. It's like this herbal remedy in some cultures, but he's got the Bigfoots, we got the UFOs, we got the Ouija boards, we got the ayahuasca. We got newspaper horoscopes. They're all equal in my mind. as the Devil Projections. So you guys both...
I'm just entertained right now.
I was about to say, you guys both look
It's all making so much sense to me.
It's all connected, guys. Because they're putting chemical. Okay, I'm gonna stop making.
I was gonna say.
I'm gonna stop making that reference.
And the bottom line is, they're putting chemicals in the water, turning the frogs gay.
Oh man! All right, guys. So we made it through, and
finally,
as of this unedited recording, we're up to an hour and a half of pure, unadulterated craziness.
Hey, a lot of the podcasts I listen to are over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because Gary has 2 hours to waste on listening to a podcast.
Every day.
Every day.
Don't you listen to it while you're working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also apparently sleeps with cups on his chest.
You keep describing things and people can't see.
I know. I'm going to have to cut all this out. It's hard enough to edit without you just adding random stuff. I'm going to have to cut out anyway.
Wanted to make sure you have plenty of work to do.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well, I just want to say, Darren, that I appreciate all you do. Like, I really do.
Thank
I
you.
think you do a good job.
Thanks.
You do.
Thank you.
You do a good job, and I'm happy to be here. And
I apparently don't. That's why I keep making you do more editing.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
No, I mean, I'm just as bad. I mean, I make him do it, but I'm just, he puts
I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't notice.
He puts a lot of hard work into this. He really does.
That's true. It takes hours.
A lot more hard work than you or I do, and apparently I do a little bit more, even more hard work than you.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I
true.
mean, so what if there's occasionally a number 1 in place of an I? I know, like, I don't.
And so what if almost every other word is misspelled?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
It's fine.
And so what if spell check is free and takes exactly an extra 4 seconds to do?
Oh no,
At the end of the day, Darren does hard work.
He does.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
not necessarily good work, but hard work.
Yeah, I mean the fact is that you're out there, you're spending your time and you're trying to get it done.
I'm out there. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I'm doing it.
That's a lot more than most people can say.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Please rate the podcast on iTunes, Podbeans, etc. You can even rate it on Facebook. It really helps, and we'll read your review on the show. Specifically, Gary will.
Yeah.
Right, Gary?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Brent, brother, thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Brother, you're welcome. Anytime.
So, any final thoughts on what we talked about today? On all the craziness?
I feel about 10 times dumber.
Good. That's exactly what I was going for
That's right.
when I was writing this.
I learned that there apparently is Bigfoot erotica out there, but I was not surprised, but I didn't know about it either.
I opened up a whole new world for you.
I'll spend about 20 minutes. The Bigfoot erotica.
Yeah, let's get back to that.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, well, I need to know a little bit more about it.
Okay.
So, like, I'm going to go home. I'm
Well,
going to put the kids to bed.
Turn the lights out and
Turn
do
the
some
lights
research.
off.
Some
So maybe
hardcore
light
research.
a candle, so I'm not in the dark and creep myself
Take
out.
the picture frame and turn it downwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
and maybe next episode we could do an whole episode on
Right.
Bigfoot erotica.
We'll go deep into it.
All right. I'm going to stop you there. Brent,
All
would you like to take us out?
Yes. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Psychic, extraterrestrial, and interdimensional Sasquatch. These are extremely bizarre theories for an already improbable creature. But we as humans cannot be so arrogant as to think that we understand everything about our universe. Maybe it's insane. However, maybe it's true. Either way, it's definitely frightening folklore.
Thank you so much for listening to Snipe Hunt. Your listening has been noted and will be reported with proper authorities. Please follow us on social media. If you have a question, comment, or a suggestion for a future episode, you can email us at snipehuntpodcast@gmail.com.
Logo design is by Ethan Rothfuss. All music heard, with the exception of the intro and outro, is by Kevin McLeod at Incompetech.com and Miu at DarkPiano.com. Possible tracks played include Crypto, Day of Chaos, Evening of Chaos, and Static Motion. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next hunt.